It's Paige.
Hey guys, it's Chloe.
Hey everyone, I'm JoJo.
It's me, Kalani.
It's Brooke.
It's Kendall.
Apples.
Candy apples.
Candy apples. Candy apples.
Candy apples!
The rise of dance moms and the chaos of the ALDC. Before TikTok dances and viral dance trends, there was dance moms, the ultimate guilty pleasure that gave us tears, talent, and more backstage drama than a Real Housewives reunion. It all started with the Abby Lee Dance Company, ALDC, a Pittsburgh-based studio run by the now infamous Abby Lee Miller, whose tough love coaching style made her either your worst nightmare or your secret idol. When Dance Moms premiered in 2011, no one was ready for the chaos that would follow. On the surface, it was a show about talented little dancers climbing the ranks of competitive dance. But let's be honest, it quickly became all about the backstage meltdowns, screaming matches, and iconic one-liners, "Save your tears for your pillow," that turned the show into a full-blown pop culture phenomenon. The real stars? The moms. From Melissa's sneaky ambition to Christy's quick comebacks, the mothers were every bit as competitive as their daughters, if not more. Week after week, they bickered from the studio's mom loft, all while trying to keep their daughters on top of Abby's dreaded pyramid. And don't even get us started on Kathy and her Candy Apples crew. Talk about rivals with capital Dureme. But behind all the yelling and walkouts was some serious talent. The girls, like Maddie Ziegler, Chloe Lacasiak, and Nia Sue, weren't just reality TV stars. They were real dancers, training through tears, injuries, and insane pressure. Maddie quickly became Abby's golden girl and Sia's future muse, which only fueled the tension between the team and their dance momager moms. The show's success skyrocketed. Fans couldn't get enough of the pyramid rankings, last-minute solos, and the way Abby could raise her eyebrow and silence a whole room. The ALDC name became legendary in dance circles and reality TV infamy. But with fame came fallout. The girls began to grow up, find their voices, and sometimes clash with Abby herself. Walkouts became more frequent, feuds got deeper, and even Abby's legal troubles made headlines. The once tight-knit team began to unravel, replaced by new dancers, new drama, and a whole lot of shade. Still, through all the chaos, Dance Moms left its glittery mark on pop culture. Whether you tuned in for the talent or the tantrums, there was no denying the show's grip. The ALDC might have been built on pirouettes and plies, but it ran on pure, unfiltered drama. Abby Lee Miller's controversial reign. When it comes to dance and drama, no one ruled quite like Abby Lee Miller. The no-nonsense, loud-mouthed, and wildly unpredictable head honcho of the Abby Lee Dance Company, Dance Moms Anyone, made it crystal clear, in her studio, you either thrived or cried on cue. From the moment Dance Moms premiered, Abby established herself as the queen of tough love, emphasis on tough. She didn't just teach dance. She demanded perfection, punished mistakes, and played favorites like it was a full-time sport. And boy, did the drama follow. Whether it was her infamous weekly pyramid rankings or the way she'd kick dancers out mid-rehearsal, Abby had one goal: to win. But her reign wasn't just fierce. It was fiery, controversial, and sometimes downright shocking. Let's talk about the favoritism. Maddie Ziegler was the golden child, and everyone knew it. Abby championed her at every turn, giving her the best choreography, solos, and praise, while other dancers were left scrambling for scraps. Chloe Lacasiak, despite being a fan favorite and a powerhouse performer, constantly found herself in Maddie's shadow. Cue endless tears, explosive mom fights, and walkouts galore. Speaking of moms, Abby versus the Dance Moms was reality TV gold. Whether it was screaming matches with Christy, icy stare-downs with Holly, or throwing shade at Kira, Abby knew how to push buttons. And let's not forget her infamous feuds with Kathy from Candy Apples. Those two could have had their own WWE spin-off. But it wasn't all sequins and sass. Abby's reign took a dark turn when legal troubles came knocking. In 2017, she was sentenced to prison for bankruptcy fraud, serving time and stepping away from her dance empire. The headlines were juicy, the public reaction was divided, and the once-feared dance teacher suddenly found herself dancing around federal charges. Even after her prison stint, controversy followed. Abby attempted a comeback with Dance Moms Resurrection, but things weren't the same. New dancers, new moms, but the same old Abby. Allegations of racism and favoritism surfaced again, with several former cast members speaking out against her behavior both on and off camera. It became clear Abby's reign left a complicated legacy. Still, there's no denying the impact she made. Love her or loathe her, Abby Lee Miller changed the game. She turned a small-town dance studio into a global brand, launched the careers of now-famous dancers, and created one of reality TV's most unforgettable shows. Her methods? Controversial. Her attitude? Unapologetic. But her influence? Iconic. Abby Lee Miller didn't just run the ALDC, she ruled it with an iron-tapped shoe. How competition fueled feuds on and off the dance floor. At the Abby Lee Dance Company, dance wasn't just an art. It was war. And in the world of Dance Moms, competition didn't end when the music stopped. In fact, that's when things really got interesting. Behind every pirouette and pointed toe was a brewing storm of jealousy, sabotage, and feuds that lit the stage on fire, both literally and figuratively. Let's be real. The pressure to be number one on Abby's infamous pyramid turned friends into frenemies faster than you can say 5, 6, 7, 8. Every week, the girls competed for solos, and their moms competed for screen time. The result? Explosive fights, emotional breakdowns, and rivalries so intense, they made the actual competitions feel like an afterthought. At the heart of the drama were Abby's favorites. Maddie Ziegler was the untouchable queen bee, always getting top-notch choreography and glowing praise. Naturally, this sent the other moms into a tailspin. Christy, Chloe's mom, famously clashed with Abby over the constant favoritism, which fueled the now iconic Chloe versus Maddie rivalry. Was Chloe just as good? Absolutely. But in Abby's world, second best was basically invisible. The tension wasn't just between the girls. It was just as fiery between the moms. Melissa was accused of sneaking behind backs. Christy was always ready to throw verbal punches, and Holly, Nia's mom, became the voice of reason who was constantly dismissed. These women weren't just cheering from the sidelines. They were in their own competition, for respect, for fairness, and let's be honest, for drama. And who could forget Kathy from Candy Apples? She brought a whole new level of petty. With her rival studio, Kathy waged a dance war against the ALDC, poaching dancers and stirring the pot with every dramatic entrance. Whether it was throwing shade at competitions or literally pulling her team mid-show, Kathy kept Abby on edge, and viewers glued to the screen. The offstage drama didn't stop with the original cast either. As the seasons rolled on and new dancers joined the team, the cycle of competition and cattiness only got worse. Moms accused each other of manipulating Abby. Dancers were pitted against each other, and loyalty was tested weekly. There was always someone plotting a dramatic exit, or an even more dramatic return. Even after the show, feuds continued to fester. Former cast members spilled tea on social media and YouTube, exposing behind-the-scenes tension and mistreatment. Many of the girls, now grown up, spoke openly about how the competitive pressure and toxic environment affected their mental health. In the end, Dance Moms proved one thing: fierce competition breeds even fiercer rivalries. The dance floor was just the stage, but the real show was the drama happening backstage, in dressing rooms, and behind Abby's clipboard. Chloe versus Maddie, when besties become rivals. They started as besties in ballet slippers, two tiny powerhouses with killer pirouettes and matching smiles. But in the cutthroat world of the Abby Lee Dance Company, friendship doesn't always survive the spotlight. Enter Dance Mom's most unforgettable rivalry, Chloe kcas versus Maddie Ziegler. From the moment the cameras rolled, their bond was tested by favoritism, fierce competition, and a whole lot of mom-fueled drama. At first, they were inseparable. Chloe and Maddie were the dynamic duo, laughing between rehearsals, hugging before solos, and hyping each other up like any pair of adorable dance BFFs. But behind their cute friendship was a brewing storm. The root of the tension? Abby Lee Miller's blatant favoritism. Let's not sugarcoat it, Maddie was the favorite. Abby showered her with praise, solos, and special opportunities. Maddie was front and center, the perfect dancer, and the face of ALDC. Meanwhile, Chloe, just as talented, expressive, and hardworking, was constantly reminded she was second best. It wasn't just disheartening, it was humiliating. And fans noticed. Week after week, the pyramid reflected the growing divide. Maddie on top, Chloe climbing from the bottom. The competition between the two tightened, and with every win Maddie snagged, Chloe's confidence took a hit. And then there was Christy, Chloe's fiercely protective mom, who wasn't afraid to call out Abby for her obvious bias. Their clashes were legendary, and honestly, iconic. Remember the time Chloe beat Maddie at Nationals? That was a moment. The crowd went wild. Chloe finally had her moment in the sun, and Abby's reaction? Ice cold. Instead of celebrating, she downplayed Chloe's win and stormed off. The message was loud and clear. Chloe could win the trophy, but she'd never win Abby's heart. Their rivalry wasn't just about dance. It was about power, recognition, and self-worth. Maddie, though never mean-spirited, was thrust into the role of golden girl, while Chloe was fighting for approval she rarely got. The pressure on both of them? Immense. And it all played out under the unforgiving eye of reality TV. Eventually, the tension became too much. Chloe left the show in season 4, walking away from the toxicity and the rivalry that overshadowed her joy for dance. Fans were heartbroken, and Team Chloe and Team Maddie factions lit up the internet. Years later, both girls have spoken out about their experiences. Chloe opened up about feeling undervalued and mistreated, while Maddie acknowledged the strange position she was put in as Abby's favorite. Thankfully, the rivalry is long gone, and both stars have moved on to thrive in their own incredible ways. But for fans of Dance Moms, Chloe versus Maddie will always be the defining drama. It was talent versus favoritism, poise versus pressure. Besties turned rivals, turned icons. And let's be honest, reality TV has never been the same. Abby's favoritism and its fallout. If there's one thing Dance Moms taught us, it's that in Abby Lee Miller's studio, not all dancers were created equal. From day one, Abby made it crystal clear she had favorites, and she wasn't shy about it. That favoritism? It lit a fire under the ALDC, fueled rivalries, crushed confidence, and turned a group of talented young dancers into reality TV's most talked-about drama queens. Maddie Ziegler was the obvious golden girl. Week after week, she dominated the top of the pyramid, landed every lead role, and basked in Abby's relentless praise. According to Abby, Maddie could do no wrong. She was the one to beat, the ultimate performer, and basically the queen of the ALDC castle. And while Maddie was insanely talented, let's not pretend the favoritism didn't ruffle every feather in the dressing room. Meanwhile, other dancers, equally hardworking, equally talented, were left feeling like background extras in the Maddie show. Chloe Lacasiak, for example, was consistently given second-best choreography, scolded more harshly, and often set up to fail in what fans dubbed the sabotage solos. Abby's bias wasn't subtle, it was brutal. And the message to the girls was clear. No matter how hard you work, if you're not the favorite, you'll always be playing catch-up. And the moms? Oh, they noticed. Christy, Chloe's mom, was the loudest voice against Abby's golden child obsession, and her clashes with Abby were legendary. Holly, Nia's mom, often took the high road, but even she wasn't immune to calling out the unfair treatment. The favoritism didn't just spark drama. It created real resentment and fractures in the team. Let's not forget the emotional toll on the dancers. Chloe, once a bright and bubbly performer, slowly lost confidence under Abby's relentless comparison to Maddie. Nia was often overlooked despite her growth and versatility. Kendall and Kalani constantly had to prove themselves, while Abby's expectations shifted with the drama. It was a never-ending audition for approval, and most of the girls never got a callback. The effects didn't stop when the cameras stopped rolling. Years later, many of the original cast members have spoken out about how Abby's favoritism impacted their self-esteem and mental health. Maddie herself even admitted that being Abby's favorite was more of a curse than a blessing, saying the pressure to be perfect was overwhelming. The favoritism may have created stars, but it also left scars. Sure, it made for amazing reality TV. The drama, the breakdowns, the walkouts, It was all fueled by Abby's unapologetic bias. But behind the glitter and rhinestones was a group of kids trying to dance through the pressure, the politics, and the pain of never feeling good enough. Because at the ALDC, Abby didn't just play favorites, she created them. And the fallout? Still echoing in pirouettes to this day. Abby versus Kathy, Dance Moms' ultimate showdown. If Dance Moms was a battlefield, then Abby Lee Miller and Kathy Nesbitt Stein were the two fearless generals locked in a rhinestone-studded war. From the moment Kathy and her Candy Apples crew entered the scene, the tension was real, the insults were savage, and the drama? Unmatched. Let's rewind. Kathy first appeared as a sweet, quirky mom with a soft spot for her daughter Vivienne and a suspiciously step-forward wife smile. At first, she was part of the ALDC crew, pretending to play nice. But behind those jazz hands was a master plan. Leave Abby's studio, start her own team, and crush the ALDC at every competition possible. Petty? Absolutely. Entertaining? Beyond. Kathy didn't just want to win. She wanted to out-Abby Abby. She poached dancers, recruited talented boys, much to Abby's dismay, and built the Candy Apples Dance Center, ADC, into Abby's biggest threat. And the best part? Kathy thrived on the rivalry. Whether she was sneaking smug glances from the audience or delivering backhanded compliments with a smile, she lived to get under Abby's skin. And oh, did she succeed. Every time the ALDC and Candy Apples ended up at the same competition, chaos followed. The girls danced their hearts out while the moms and coaches traded barbs louder than the applause. Kathy would roll in with her slicked-back ponytail and signature smugness, only to be met with Abby's legendary eye rolls and explosive rants. Their confrontations often ended in yelling, storming off, and the occasional purse toss. Iconic, honestly. But beyond the hilarious insults, "You're a joke, Kathy," "Well, at least I'm not a monster, Abby," there was a deeper layer. Both women were determined to win at all costs. Abby had her rigid discipline and obsessive control, while Kathy relied on mind games, unexpected choreography, and constant jabs. It was classic control freak versus calculated chaos, and fans lived for it. The rivalry also created some of the show's best episodes. Remember when Kathy brought in powerhouse dancers to surprise Abby at a competition? Or when Abby accused Kathy of copying her choreography? Or how Kathy constantly roasted Abby's teaching methods to anyone who would listen. Pure TV gold. But let's not forget, while Abby and Kathy were busy throwing shade, their dancers were caught in the middle. The competition between studios pushed the girls to the brink, and sometimes the adults' drama overshadowed the kids' actual talent. In the end, Kathy never quite dethroned Abby, but she definitely left her mark. Their feud became a defining storyline, one that gave us countless iconic moments, meme-worthy quotes, and the kind of reality TV chaos you can't script. Most savage moments, megaphones, insults, and more. If Dance Moms had an award show, the category for most savage moments would be a landslide. Let's face it, Abby Lee Miller didn't just teach dance. She threw shade with the precision of a choreographed pirouette. And her insults? Legendary. From megaphone blow-ups to mom-on-mom brawls, Dance Moms gave us a decade's worth of savage moments that'll go down in reality TV history. 1. Abby's megaphone meltdown. Okay, if you don't know this moment, you've been living under a rock. Abby Lee Miller grabbed a megaphone at a competition and went full throttle into savage mode, screaming, "You're a joke, Abby," at Kathy from Candy Apples. But it wasn't just the words. It was the sheer audacity. Abby was out for blood, and the megaphone was her weapon of choice. She didn't just shout. She roared, making the entire stadium pause. Kathy, of course, took it like a champ, but Abby had just thrown down the gauntlet like no one else could. The moms were living, but we were all just living for the drama. 2. You're not a dancer, you're a performer. Abby had a way with words, but her insults could cut deeper than a botched leap. When she got fed up with one of the girls not performing to her standards, Abby delivered one of her sharpest lines. "You're not a dancer, you're a performer." Ouch. It wasn't just a critique, it was a total public shaming. Abby had no problem letting the world know when someone wasn't measuring up, and she didn't care who was listening. 3. Chloe, you'll never be Maddie. If there was one thing Abby was known for, It was the way she played favorites, and no moment exemplified this more than the brutal line she dropped on Chloe. "Chloe, you'll never be Maddie." This wasn't just a mom versus daughter feud. It was Abby taking Chloe's confidence and stomping on it in front of everyone. The cold, calculated delivery left Chloe visibly crushed, and fans everywhere were left fuming. How could Abby be so cruel to such a talented dancer? We'll never know. But that moment definitely earned Abby her most savage title. For Christy versus Abby, the ultimate showdown. No one could go toe-to-toe with Abby quite like Christy. After Abby criticized Chloe for yet another solo fail, Christy snapped back with a line that had everyone applauding. "My daughter doesn't need to be perfect. She just needs to be better than you." Boom. If there were ever a mic drop moment in Dance Moms, this was it. Christy didn't hold back. She came for Abby's throne, and the internet exploded. 5. This is not so you think you can dance. Abby loved to remind the girls and the moms that this was a competition where only the best of the best survived. During one particularly tense rehearsal, Abby turned to a group of dancers and barked, "This is not so you think you can dance." The shade was as sharp as a ballet slipper, implying that this wasn't some soft reality show. It was Abby's world, and you had to earn your place. Everyone, including the poor girls trying to keep it together, knew Abby was the ultimate dance dictator, and no one was safe. 6. Get off my stage, you're not a star. When the drama reached its peak, Abby didn't mince words. In one particularly explosive scene, she literally kicked a dancer off the stage, telling her, "You're not a star." It was harsh, it was humiliating, and honestly, it was what Dance Moms was all about. Who else could command that kind of reaction, turning an innocent dance routine into a full-on public spectacle? These savage moments are why Dance Moms was so addictive. Abby's insults were ruthless, the competition cutthroat, and every episode had us begging for more. It was more than just a dance show. It was a lesson in shade, sass, and the art of the perfect clapback. Kendall versus Nia, a quiet rivalry with loud moms. In the world of Dance Moms, rivalries were often loud, public, and explosive. But the one between Kendall Verts and Nia Frazier? Oh honey, that one simmered under the surface, fueled by silent glances, quiet competition, and two of the most vocal moms the show ever saw. Forget the screaming matches or the walkouts. This rivalry was a slow burn, and it was just as spicy. It all started with Abby Lee Miller's infamous pyramid, where Kendall and Nia often found themselves vying for the same spot in Abby's heart, and at the top of the dance charts. But let's be real, neither of them could ever quite break through the Maddie Ziegler barrier, and that always left both of them fighting for Abby's scraps. The quiet competition. Kendall, with her long legs and striking looks, was always striving to prove herself, while Nia, with her killer versatility and resilience, constantly worked her way into Abby's good graces. Both girls were undeniably talented, but neither seemed to get the respect or recognition they truly deserved. Their rivalry wasn't as in-your-face as Chloe versus Maddie or the explosive feuds between Abby and the moms, but you could feel the tension every time they shared the stage. The real drama came from their moms. Kendall's mom, Jill, and Nia's mom, Holly, who were both equally determined for their daughters to shine. Jill was always pushing for more attention for Kendall, making sure Abby knew how great her daughter was, often calling out perceived injustices when Kendall didn't get the spotlight. She wasn't shy about making waves, and if Abby didn't recognize Kendall's potential, Jill sure as hell would make sure everyone else did. Holly's silent strength. Then there was Holly, the voice of reason among the moms, who constantly advocated for Nia, fighting against Abby's favoritism and calling out the injustices that her daughter faced. Holly's quiet but passionate resolve was often the calm in the storm, but she wasn't afraid to speak her mind when things went too far. Nia, for her part, never really showed the same outward animosity toward Kendall, but there were moments. You could see the competition between the two girls, whether it was fighting for solos or the lead in group dances. The girls' relationship was always cordial, but there was an underlying current of rivalry, especially when Kendall got a solo that Nia wanted, or vice versa. They were always the other girls, the ones struggling to break through Abby's favoritism. Moms versus moms. It wasn't just the dancers who clashed, it was the moms too. Jill and Holly's back and forth was almost as entertaining as the dance routines themselves. Jill would push and prod, trying to secure Kendall's place at the top, while Holly would calmly defend Nia, making sure her daughter wasn't overlooked. The tension was palpable, and every time the two women crossed paths, it was only a matter of time before things would escalate into a verbal showdown. By the end of their Dance Moms journey, Kendall and Nia had both emerged as fan favorites, showing how much they'd grown from those early days of quiet competition. But as much as they might have been friends at heart, the rivalry, with their moms as the loud, driving forces, was always simmering beneath the surface. In the end, they weren't just fighting for solos or spots in the routine, they were battling for the recognition they deserved. And while their rivalry may not have been as blazing as others, it was a reminder that in Abby's world, even the quietest moments could hold the most tension. The ALDC OGs versus the new girls, protecting the throne. The Dance Moms drama that kept us all on the edge of our seats. The OG squad versus the new girls. It was a battle for the crown, a fight for the spotlight, and let's be honest, a total mess. Abby Lee Miller's legendary ALDC crew had been the undisputed rulers of the dance floor, but when new blood started entering the mix, things got heated. It wasn't just about dance, it was about status, and the OG girls? They were not having it. The OG's reign. Maddie Ziegler, Chloe Lacasiak, Nia Fraser, Kendall Verts, and the rest of the original crew had already claimed their places in the ALDC hierarchy by the time the new girls showed up. Maddie was the golden child, the shining star who could do no wrong, and the other OGs were used to being at the top of the pyramid. They had been through it all, the drama, the tears, the triumphs, and they had earned their spots. But when Abby started adding fresh talent to the mix, like Kalani Hilliker, Jojo Siwa, and others, suddenly the OGs felt like their throne was in danger. Enter the new girls. At first, it seemed like the new girls were just another part of Abby's ever-changing team, but things quickly escalated. Kalani was good, like really good, and she made an immediate impact on the team. Jojo, with her high-energy personality and signature bows, quickly became a fan favorite and caused serious tension among the OG girls. It was clear Abby had new favorites, and she wasn't afraid to show it. The OG girls had spent years earning Abby's favor, but here came the new girls, waltzing in like they owned the place. And let's not forget, JoJo's colorful personality and social media fame were becoming a huge part of the Dance Moms brand, making the OGs feel like their time in the spotlight was coming to an end. Cue the side-eyes. Moms weigh in. Of course, it wasn't just the dancers feeling the heat. The moms were also feeling the shift in power. Melissa, Maddie and Mackenzie's mom, wasn't exactly thrilled about the new girls pushing their way to the top. Christy, Chloe's mom, definitely wasn't going to let Kalani waltz in and steal the spotlight. And Holly, Nia's mom, ever the voice of reason, had to constantly remind Abby to treat her daughter fairly, despite the emerging new girl dynamic. But Jill Verts, Kendall's mom? She was livid. She wasn't about to let some new girl steal her daughter's chance to shine. The tension between the moms was almost as intense as the rivalry between the dancers. They were protecting their girls and fighting for screen time, and it was a battle that kept fans glued to their seats. The power struggle. As the competition heated up, so did the drama. The OG girls didn't take kindly to newcomers overshadowing them, especially when Abby made it clear that the new girls were getting solos, prime spots in group routines, and the attention they craved. Maddie, once the star, found herself less in the limelight as JoJo and Kalani began stealing the show. But the real twist? When the OGs started leaving, Chloe, Maddie, and others started stepping away from the drama. Their departure made the new girls feel like they were finally taking over, but it was bittersweet. It wasn't just about the dancing anymore. It was about who had the power to dictate the narrative. In the end, it was a classic case of protecting the throne. The OG girls had built the ALDC empire, but the new girls were pushing for their own place in the spotlight. And when it all came down to it, both sides wanted the same thing, to be the best. But as always with Dance Moms, the real drama was happening behind the scenes, where loyalty, jealousy, and competition turned friendships into rivalries.